Okay, your 4-6 and 4-7 assignments from last week that we started. I made that do this. Well, I think maybe I gave you this till this Sunday, either this Friday or this Sunday one. I think it was this Friday because hopefully you've already got the 4-6 questions done, and you just need to finish the quadratic formula. Then you also have a 6-problem 4.7 math Excel that's due Sunday. No, I think they're both due Sunday night. Anyway. All right, so 4-6, 4-7 assignment, and then you have another 4-7 math Excel discriminant assignment. You also, I messaged you last Thursday or Friday and sent you the Unit 5 review. I also uploaded it Friday in Schoology. I went ahead and made your folders. I'm in the process of making worked out solutions for that, so I don't know if any of you have started that yet, but you will have your first paper test in here Thursday. So make sure between now and Thursday, if you have any questions whatsoever on the review, anything, you can either come see me during lunch or message me on Schoology, whichever. But that test is like everything, of course, that we've been doing, graphing quadratics in standard form and vertex form, and solving quadratic equations using different methods, completing the square, factoring. Okay, today we're looking at 4.7 quadratic formula. Have you guys seen this lovely formula before? All right, I thought so. So quadratic formula, and so hopefully that part won't be new to you. You can use the quadratic formula to solve you can use, I should have said, it should say to solve, not use every. To solve every quadratic equation. Remember, we talked about certain methods we could use to solve quadratic equations. Like you can only use square roots when you have the x squared and so on. But you can use this on every problem if you want to. I have students that will do that. I'm not particularly too fond of the quadratic formula, but to each their own. If you're going to use this formula, you have to make sure that you get your equation in standard form first. You have to have the ax squared plus bx plus c all on one side, and it has to be set equal to 0. So really, all your variables and numbers are on one side, 0 on the other. All like terms are combined. You take the number, of course, in front of x squared, in front of b, and you take your number at the end, and you simply plug in to this formula. The biggest mistakes I see students make is missing a sign and simply not typing it in the calculator right or something like that. I see a lot of signs missed here. You will consider, look, okay, what number will always be here? What type of number will always be here when you plug in? I think I heard somebody say it. Positive, right? Always, always. I don't care what the sign is in front of B. I don't care if that's a negative or a positive number. When I square it, it's always positive here, every time. This 4, you're going to consider that to be negative. So you'll have a positive number. You can either say plus -4 times all that. Like this is the way I do it. I'll multiply all of this together, -4 times A times C. And then I'll just add that to this positive number. And always make sure, of course, in the front, you do care about B sign. You'll switch sign or change sign. So, and then plus or minus 2A on the bottom. Okay, this, when you solve a quadratic equation, no matter what method you use, you're going to get 2, 1, or 0 real solutions, which we've talked about that. I've said you can get at most 2 solutions. You may have only 1 solution or no solution at all. These solutions, can anybody else tell me what they're also called? They have other names. Solutions. What'd y'all say? What? Somebody said something. It had a couple other names. Whenever you solve a quadratic equation, those are the points where your graph will cross where? Good, the x-axis. So the solutions are also known as your x-intercepts. And we're going to talk about that on down. Can I go up a little bit more? Okay. This is very important. I see this type of question involving the discriminant on the ACT. Of course, we always talk about the quadratic formula, it seems like every year, but what we don't discuss a lot is the discriminant. All the discriminant value is simply your b squared minus 4ac part. You don't have to draw these little graphs over here on the left unless you just want to, and you don't have to say it's 2 x-intercepts, like we've already talked about that. Just make sure you get that. It's only the b squared minus 4ac. You do not include the radical. Don't include that square root. When you calculate this value, it's going to tell you how many real solutions you'll have before you even keep solving the problem. And remember, it's also your x-intercept. So you're going to have some problems that say, without graphing, tell how many x-intercepts this quadratic function will have. All you have to do is calculate your discriminant value, b squared minus 4ac. If you get that it's greater than 0, let's go back up really quick. If I get a number under the square root that is positive, can you take the square root of a positive number? Yes, absolutely. So I'm going to have positive or negative square root of whatever. So I'll have 2 solutions. If I get that this discriminant value is 0, what's square root of 0? So in essence, that part is going to go away and you're going to be left with negative b over 2a, because you'll have negative b plus or minus 0, nothing there. So that's why you only have 1 real solution. If b squared minus 4ac is 0, 1 real solution or 1 x-intercept. If you get a negative number, you know, of course, you cannot take the square root of a negative, or that's what you know so far. Anyway, so if I get that b squared minus 4ac is less than 0 or negative, I have 0 real solutions, and it will not cross the x-axis. You don't have to know this, but your graph, of course, if you have 2 real solutions, then that parabola, whether it's up or flip, is going to cross the x-axis twice. If the discriminant is 0 and you only have 1 answer, 1 solution, it only touches the x-axis, only touches it 1 time, either up or if it's flipped down. If that discriminant is negative, it will not even touch the x-axis anywhere. And I've already told you that bottom part, your equations must be simplified and be set equal to 0 before you can apply the quadratic formula. So how many real solutions or x-intercepts do you have if your discriminant is 0? How many do you have if it's negative? 0 and positive 2. All right, does anybody need this still? Okay, we're going to practice leaving our answers in exact form, and then I'm going to show you how, of course, you type them in your calculator and round. I wanted to show you both ways on each problem because some of your problems in Math Excel ask you to do both, like leave it exact and then round it. Okay, solve the equation using the quadratic formula, give the exact and rounded answers. Okay, in number 1, what is wrong with this? Good, it's undistributed. So that's the first thing you need to do is distribute. So we get 3x squared equals what? Good, 4x plus 2. Okay, now we're closer to it looking like what we want. It has to be set equal to what? 0. Now, it doesn't matter. I always try to keep x squared positive, but you can easily just move it to this right side if you want to do that. What do y'all want to do? Do y'all want to move 4x and 2, or do you want to move 3x squared? Okay, let's move 4x and 2. So you'll have 3x squared minus 4x minus 2. Equals 0. Okay, we've simplified it, set equals 0. So now let's plug into our formula. What is A? A is 3 and B is what? Good, B is 4. C is 2. So your formula, you have the opposite of B. So B is negative 4. So when you plug in, it's going to become positive 4. Always the opposite of B. That goes first. Plus or minus. Square that number. Always square B. So what goes here? Be careful. You got, yeah, square B. So you'll plug in 16 minus 4 times A, which is 3. And then positive 2. All over 2 times A, which is 3 on the bottom. Hey, is everybody okay with that? No, thank you. It shouldn't be minus. All right, let's clean up underneath the square root. So if you're doing this in your head without a calculator, this is what I would do. You want to multiply negative 4 times 3 times -2. What does that give you? Be careful, you got negative, positive, negative. So it's going to be positive 24 and then plus 16. So 24 plus 16 is going to give you 40. Now, of course, you can always type this in a calculator just like you see it. 16 minus 4 times 3 times -2, and you'll get 40 if you type it in right. All over 6. Okay, this is what you're not going to like about this. If you can simplify this radical to leave it in exact form, you must do that. And what I mean by that, can 40 be divided by any perfect square? Perfect square numbers, 4, 9, 16, 25. 4, it can be divided by 4, right? So what I do, I have to put 40, root 40, in simplest radical form. So I split it up into 4 times 10. Take the square root of 4, bring that out, and then you leave root 10. Have you guys done that before? Okay, good deal. I can tell you guys have done like more stuff than some of my others. Okay, once you simplify your radical, then you have to look and see if all of the numbers that are outside the radical, 4, 2, and 6, well, I'll tell you what, Math Excel is going to make you split it up. So this is what I'm going to have you do. You're going to take this denominator that 4 and 2 root 10 share, and you're going to split it up. You're going to say 4, 6 plus 2 root 10 over 6. Then you're also going to say 4 over 6 minus 2 root 10 over 6. Okay, last but not least, go through and see if any of those fractions will simplify. What will 4, 6 reduce to? Good, that will reduce to 2/3. And what will 2, 6 reduce to? Good. So you're going to have 1 root 10, and I don't care if you write the 1 in front of root 10. You'll never see it like that, but that's up to you. If it helps you do it. So you can write that 1 if you want to. Okay. No, you can't break that down any further because 10 can't be divided by any perfect squares and doesn't, yeah. That's the only thing about these is like we're okay up to this point, but then some of us still struggle a little bit with breaking down the radical. I know it took me a little while when I was at school to get the hang of that. And then of course, breaking it down, splitting it up. Okay, if you were asked to leave it as a decimal, then you would be done at this point. So the decimal version, you would just take 4 plus root 40, type that in your calculator, and then divide it by 6. And then you would take 4 minus root 40, divide that by 6. You should get 1.72 rounded to 2 decimal places there, and then negative 0.39, rounded to 2 decimal places. So if they ask you to leave it as a decimal, that's one of your favorite things. Just stop and type it in. Okay, do y'all have any questions so far? No, that's a lot. I didn't leave myself enough room for that. Okay, what do you need to do first? Good, let's subtract 1/2. And I'm okay, if you want to change this to a decimal and plug in, that's fine. But if it's exact, if they ask for exact answer, I would just leave it a fraction. Okay, let's go through and plug in. What is A? A is 2, B is what? +1, and C is -1/2. So when I plug, tell me what number I'm going to plug in at first. Good. Always the opposite of B. And then plus or minus square root. What number goes here? You're close. Always square B. B squared goes first, so you got 1. Then you're 4. -4 times A, which is 2. And C is -1/2. Okay, cover everything else up. Multiply -4 to 2. What do you get there? -8. And what is -8 times -1/2? +4. Good. So you got 4 plus 1, which is what? 5. And then on the bottom, we had 2 times A, which is 2. Okay, are y'all okay to that point? Yes, no? Y'all good? Ryan, you good? Okay. Can you divide 5 by any perfect square? No. So √5 is in simplest form. So at least we don't have to worry about that. When you type this in Math Excel, like I would be good with this answer because 1, 4, 1, of course, won't simplify. But Math Excel is going to make you split it up. Tell me how you take this denominator that -1 and √5 share and split it up. Good. -1/4 plus √5/4. And then -1/4 minus √5/4. So that's your 2 answers in exact form. If they ask you to type this in and round it, you'd have 0.31 for this first answer. And then -0.25 minus you would get -0.81 rounded. Okay, does anyone have a question about plugging into the quadratic formula? About that part? Okay, the next two problems are simply going to be evaluating the discriminants and telling how many real solutions that you have. So all you have to write, if you're writing the directions at all, just write discriminant, how many real solutions, and x-intercepts. Okay, what's the formula? What's the discriminant part of the quadratic formula? B squared minus 4AC. It's just the part that's underneath the radical. B squared minus 4AC. This, you do have to make sure that it's set equal to 0, just like you were going to solve it. But all I'm doing is calculating B squared minus 4AC. So tell me what you're plugging in for B. Good. And then what are you plugging in for A? Good. -4. And C? -25. All right, 20 squared will give you what? Good, 400. And then minus, good. You got 400 here. All of this comes out to be positive 400, and then bring down that minus sign. So your discriminant value is 0. So how many real solutions or x-intercepts? Good. Since I have my discriminant as 0, I'm only going to have one real solution. And of course, that's also your x-intercept. So one real solution and x-intercept. Just don't be thrown off. Sometimes they're going to say, what's your solutions? And then sometimes they're going to say, what's the x-intercept? Same thing. Okay, I want you guys to do 4. I'll give you a couple minutes to do 4 on your own. Just find the discriminant and tell me how many solutions the next intercept. Yeah, just the discriminant. Okay, let me ask you, what did y'all do first? What'd you say? Good. Set it equal to 0. Did y'all move the 6x squared to the right side, or did you move 2x and minus 5 to the left? Okay. That's fine. I'm going to show you, like, you should get the same thing either way. Okay. So if you chose to move 2x minus 5 to the left side, this is what you should have. If you chose to bring negative 6x squared to the right, then you should have this. Whichever way. You could have left 2x minus 5 and just brought that to the right side. It doesn't matter. Okay, tell me, which one did y'all do? Did everybody do the top or the bottom? Okay. I'll show you the bottom way. It's going to be backwards from what, like whatever you plugged in will have different signs. If you did this bottom way, you should have plugged in 2, positive 2 for B. If you did it the other way, you plugged in negative 2. Plugged in 6 for A this way and negative 5 for C. Tell me what you got for your discriminant value. $124? 30, 120. Yes. Should get positive 124. So how many real solutions? Good. How many x-intercepts? Good. Real solutions or x-intercepts. How to what? Oh, if this is positive, if the number that you get is positive, you have 2 real solutions. If the number that I get out is negative, I have no real solutions. And of course, if I get 0, I only have 1. Does that make sense? Was that what you were asking? Okay. Okay, the next problem we're going to look at is everybody's favorite type of problem ever. What's your favorite problem in math? Not really, but word problems. I don't have it. Got it. Okay. I will highlight what you need to write down or circle. Just write down this equation or function. You have a problem in your 4647 Math Excel. I think it's like number 17 or 18. That is just like this. What is it? Okay. It says if a certain cannon is fired from a height of 9.4 meters above the ground. So what that's going to look like, you've got this cannonball being fired, and it's already a distance, and you don't have to write this down, of 9.4 meters. And it's traveling this parabolic path, and they're wanting to know after time T has elapsed. So cannonball being fired 9.4 meters above the ground. How much time will it take for the cannonball to hit the ground? How much time will it elapse before it comes back down? So in this function, they say that height of force is modeled by h, time is in seconds. Height is a function of time, of course, because after so many seconds, it's going to be so many feet high, or so many meters in this case. Times a second is height is in meters. Find the time it takes for the cannonball to strike the ground. So going back to the picture, what will your height be when it hits the ground? Good. Your height is going to be 0 when it hits the ground. So what you're going to do in that case, you're going to take and plug in 0 for h of t in your function. And then we're going to plug this into the quadratic formula in our calculator to solve, to see how many seconds it took this cannonball to arrive back at 0 meters and hit the ground. Okay, what are you plugging in for B? Plugging in 30.5. So at first I plug in negative 30.5. And then we're plugging in 30.5 squared minus 4. What was A? Negative 4.9. And C was 9.4. Okay, all of that divided by 2 times negative 4.9. Okay, before you type this in a calculator, I would go through and clean it up some. For example, if I were you, I would go through and find out what this discriminant value is. Type in 30.5 squared to your calculator on your phone, or if you have a calculator, minus 4 times that times 9.4. Okay, when you type all of that in, you should get 1114.49. On the bottom, you'll get negative 9.8. And then you're going to type in both answers to see which one it might be. Time can never be what? Negative. So I'm going to type in negative 30.5 plus. Tell me which one's going to give you the negative answer right now. Well, okay, never mind. Never mind. I mean, you can tell me. It's a little bit harder to see. Don't y'all love this problem? Okay, now that I have them separated, I'm going to go and type them in. Type in the first one. Okay, when you type in this first answer, you should get, and that should be T, not X. But anyway, you should get that time in that case is approximately negative 0.29. Time is approximately in this one. .52 seconds. But you, of course, can't have a negative time. So that's why you have to find both of them and rule out the negative value. Okay, do y'all have any questions whatsoever? hopefully now, I wanted to go over that one with you because I didn't want you to get to it. And, like, nope, not doing that one. We're not going to go over this other one. I'm about to do it and post it in your notes. But there is another problem very similar to that one that deals with profits. Yeah, just don't freak out on me right now. Okay, we're not going to do it. Just, I'm going to do it and then post it in your notes. So you can go ahead and work on your math in Excel. But it's going to give you a quadratic function that models the profit of a fundraiser. And it's asking you what's the smallest amount that you can charge and make a profit of at least $356. So what you have to do is set your quadratic function that they give you equal to that dollar amount, and then get it set equal to 0, plug it into the quadratic formula. The lowest answer that you get out of the two will represent the smallest amount that you can charge. So from this point, you would just, of course, subtract, move this, plug in the quadratic formula. Smallest answer is the smallest profit. If they ask you what's the largest amount you can charge, then of course it'd be the opposite. Okay, work on your math Excel.